Hey there, my friends. This is Dave Wood. I'm talking to you in abundance today with a new episode of the Daily Shortcut. I wanted to welcome you and tell you you're awesome for being here. And in addition to that, today we're going to give you some valuable information, and we are going to help you to do an exorcism of the demon of self-sabotage, which is actually the most destructive thing that exists in business. Now, here's the thing that I want you guys to understand is that you are the key to your results that you're getting right now. You are the key to the better results that you're going to get in the future. You are the key to understanding why you've had the problems of the past. Sometimes when our problems are big, sometimes if they're crazy, it takes a little bit of work to be able to look in the mirror and to say, hey there, buddy, thanks for the results. Because the reality is that you did create those in one way, whether it was direct or indirect, you created it. You know, I've talked to a lot of people over the years that you've even been in, abusive relationships where they've attracted relationships that are abusive, but the fact is that those people are attracting those people for some reason in their life. I've experienced things like that as well in my past, and I'm just telling you something, no matter what your results are that you're getting, no matter what part of your life you're experiencing right now, you are creating it, and that gives you power to change it. And so today we're going to talk about the exorcism of getting rid of the demon of self-sabotage so you can actually create what you want. The first thing I want to do in this exorcism today is I actually want to get rid of the word sabotage. A lot of people, they look at their life and they create a word like sabotage, and automatically it creates this image like somebody else is doing it. Somebody is sabotaging it. But the reality is we can get rid of the word sabotage and we could just call it the results that you're creating right now. Because the reality is that you are creating results in your life right now. Whether you like those results or whether you don't like those results, these are the results that you're getting. And so if you're in business and you're not making the amount of money that you want, the amount of money that you're making is the results that you're getting. If you're losing money, the loss of money is the results that you're getting. If you're making $100,000 a month, the results that you're getting is $100,000 a month. If you have a beautiful relationship, the results that you're getting is a beautiful relationship. If you have a bad relationship, the results that you're getting is a bad relationship. If you're attracting money, friends, time freedom, financial independence, constant, bigger, growing abundance in your life, people that you love working with, those are the results that you're getting. If your body is how you want, it is also a part of the results that you're getting. And so the results that you're getting, why don't you just write those down? And so as you're going through this episode, as you're claiming the bonuses today and going through the workbook, why don't you just take a section and just say the results that I'm getting, and then just start defining those results that you're getting in your life. And if you don't like them, then you could start making a plan for how you can change the results that you're getting to better results. And so that's the first key to getting rid of self-sabotage, is actually realizing that it's not sabotage, you're actually just creating these results, and you can create different results by changing your beliefs, changing your words, changing your actions, and changing your plans. Okay? Does that make sense to you? And so what I want to do right now is I want to go over 5 keys to creating different results and getting rid of, again, this demon that we're calling a demon, but is really just ourselves doing things that we want to do in a different way, right? I like the responsibility model where we look at ourselves and we look in the mirror and we step up, we open the bathroom, we look in the mirror and we say, hey there, boss, how you doing? Thank you for the results that I'm getting today, and also for the results that we're not getting in the right way, let's make some plans and let's change these, okay? I'm a big believer in the law of attraction, but done in the right way, where the law of attraction involves really creative thought, really detailed plans, very specific goals, and lots of action and focused work. I believe that you have the power to create anything, right? I believe that you literally have the power to create everything. I think the first step, and this is principle number 1, to creating better results in your life, is when you have a problem to admit it. And I think a lot of us, what we do at different parts of our lives is we tend to blame other people for our problems. And my brother said it best the other week. I was talking to him about a blame pattern that I was seeing in a relationship. And what he said to me is he said that blame is always 100% of the time, I want you to listen to this, blame is always 100% of the time a cognitive distortion. It is not real. And so when we're in a position in our life where we're angry and we're blaming other people for the problems that we have, that we're a co-creator of these problems, the reality is we need to also look at ourselves. We don't need to blame ourselves, but we need to look at ourselves and say, what's the part in this that I was a part of creating? In other words, which part of this relationship, this business, this result that I want to create in a different way, which part did I actually create? And for those things that we're not doing in the right way, being willing to say, yes, we have a problem there. Yes, we're not doing this in the right way. Yes, I can change this. Yes, I do have the power to do things differently. I do have the power to develop myself. I do have the power to change this pattern that's not producing the results that I want to produce. admitting that we have a problem and that we have the power to change it is the first step to creating victory and creating better results that we actually do want in our life. Because I want you to create the results that you do want, not more of the results that you don't want. Does that make sense? That's principle number one, is to admit we have a problem. That's the first step in being able to change that problem. Principle number two is to seek help from a mentor, from mentors, from books, from people that have wisdom in this area that we don't have wisdom. Look, if I study martial arts, and so if I'm studying martial arts and I want to learn something and I'm getting stuck in some area, let's say I'm doing a lot of sparring or a lot of free energy work with people where we're doing throws, we're doing chi sao and kung fu, right? And somebody continues to throw something at me and I have no ability to stop it, right? Well, I know enough principles at this point to where a majority of the time I could come up with something that's going to work in a majority of cases with that particular attack. But the reality is that I have mentors, and so an easier thing to do is to ask somebody that doesn't have that problem and to say, hey, what do you do? It's a way to speed up the learning curve. And especially if you have an area of your life where you just don't produce the results that you want. Like, you know, I had a wake up, you know, over the last year where I looked at some areas of my life and I was like, you know what, in this area of my life over here, I do not produce the results that I want. I produce the results that I don't want. How do I change these results? So rather than trying to do it myself, what I did was I went and I found mentors, and I found people that used to have this problem and now they don't have this problem anymore. In other words, they did have the problem, but what happened is they changed the problem. They changed this thing that's a problem for me. And so in the act of changing it, they have proved that there's a solution to it, and they also have a proven path to getting it done. And so what I did is I just went to those mentors and I said, hey, can you give me some advice in this area of my life? I need to go from here to here. I know that you went from here to here. How did you do it? And then they gave me some books to read, some advice to follow, some other mentors to find, some ways of finding solutions, and I was able to cross a great majority of this bridge. There's still some work to do. The reality is in your life, if you're making this much and you want to make this much, I mean, you know, you shouldn't come in and tell me how you're going to do it, right? Does that make sense? I had a person who got in this last boot camp. I do a 6-figure boot camp, and I'm running one this month. And I've got this big group of students in there that are learning how to do things they've never learned to do. And one of the students came in and they started really bitching and complaining about how they wanted the boot camp to run. And they were like, no, you got to tell me this and this. And I said, you'll learn that later, when it's time. Right now you're not going to encounter this issue and you need to focus on this, because I know that if I give them all that information, they'll get good at nothing. They need to learn one thing at a time or they're not going to build a skill, right? And this person bitched and moaned and complained and whined until I finally assigned them to a different group leader and got them away from me, because I'm not going to give advice to somebody that's not going to listen. But see, I'm here and they're here and they want to get there but aren't willing to listen. They want to tell me how it's done. That's like if, you know, I want relationship advice and I go to a relationship mentor that has the relationship I want and I don't have the relationship that I want, and I go there and I say, here's what I'm going to do. They might listen and smile and say, I tried that too. Here's what I would do. And if I don't listen to them, will they continue giving me advice? You want to seek a mentor, and a mentor is there to listen, not to barf on. Does that make sense? So find somebody that's where you want, and you're here and they're there, and they'll help you traverse this in record time. They'll help you learn things that you will not come up with for years, or you'll never come up with, that maybe they've learned from mentors that's hundreds of years of combined experience. So step 2 is to find a mentor. Let's move on to step 3. Submit your ego, right? And I always say submit your ego to a higher power, right? This works for people. You know, this is what they always tell people in the addict circles. They say admit you have a problem and that you need help, right? The reality is that a higher power could be something that's a higher level than you. It could be God. It could be the universe. It could be whatever your spiritual background is. It could be your superconscious mind. You want to submit your dumb ego. And I say dumb because when we have this big ego, and by ego I don't mean the part of us that enjoys success. I mean the part of us that wants to stay fixed in a way that's broken. Einstein, I believe, said, but I don't know for sure because I've never read the passage where he said this. This may just be something people pass on and make up. But I believe he said that the definition of crazy is trying something over and over and over again and expecting different results each time you try it. And the truth is that's probably not crazy, it's probably more obsession, right? As far as definitions go. But if you're trying it your way and you're having this huge ego about doing it your way and your way's not working, and then somebody's here and you're here and they're saying, hello, I'm standing at the door, I'm knocking, can you open please? Hello, hello, hello. And you're like, I'm going to do this thing this way, right? Well, you might want to listen to them. You might want to listen to them, and you might want to listen to the way that they're doing it and get the results that they're getting, because they can help you because they've traversed this path. Maybe they've tried this thing that you've done. Maybe they tried it for years like you've tried it for years, and they're through it. They're over here, and they broke through, and it's the same breakthrough you need. And if you ask them, they'd say, hey, walk down these steps down to this destination like I did, it's proven, right? Does that make sense? So all the time, I'll have students come in and they've got this huge ego and they come at me and they're like, hey, how you doing? And the truth is I know that they're not making any money because I can see it. I can see all the results in the company and I say, hey, how you doing? And they're like, well, really great. I'm doing this, XYZ, XYZ, XYZ. And nowhere in that entire thing is honesty and a question, right? There's nowhere in there that says, hey, the truth is I'm doing my best. I'd give you all the stuff that I'm doing if you want, but I really want some advice because I'm stuck and I'm not making money and I want to make some money, right? And if they came out with that, then I would ask questions about what they're doing and find out. And you know what I'd do? I would go to the principle of prosperity and take 95% of what they're doing and hack it off with a giant axe and say, don't ever do this again until you can do this, and have them focus on one thing. But if they don't ask, right, my words are going to fall on deaf ears, right? There's an old saying that comes from the New Testament where Jesus says, don't cast your pearls before swine, right? And I look at that and that's not a very good metaphor for people because people aren't necessarily swine, but if you have something precious, if you have something that's results creating, if you have something that can create abundance in somebody's life and they're going to take it and just throw it in the mud, why would you give it to them? So that's when you come to a mentor, you got to get rid of the ego, because when you have this ego and you're putting up these big blocks in your heart, what you're actually doing is you're blocking out the prosperity that you're looking for, and you want to open the door, not close it, especially if you have a mentor. There's that old saying that says, when a student is ready, then the teacher appears. Well, when the student's not ready, the teacher appears. But guess what? The student doesn't listen to him, so the teacher leaves to find another student. Does that make sense, right? If I'm teaching a martial art and I'm explaining something again and again, and the student, they don't listen, I will continue to hit them again and again and again and again until they make the correction that I've suggested a million times. It's because they're not listening, because they've got a hard heart, because they've got a big ego. And sometimes your ego needs to be broken down, because if I don't do that, then life will smack them in the face. If you don't listen to your mentor, life will smack you in the face. If you don't open your heart and be humble, life smacks you way harder than a mentor will ever look at you and say, hey buddy, you need to change what you're doing. Does that make sense? Ask your mentors, and for the love of God, listen to them, and they'll continue to give good advice, because they'll say, I've got a student and I'm going to go and I'm going to help transform, discipline this person and change this person into a world-changing leader of human beings, of vision, of world transformation. Does that make sense? So next principle is to be accountable to the person that can help you, to a group that can help you, to an accountability group. You got to be accountable, right, to the results that you're producing. To do that, you got to know what results you're aiming to produce. You got to have a goal and an outcome for production, and you got to have a group to report to. It could be your mentor. It could be an accountability system that they put in place. People that are not accountable don't grow. And so a great example of this is just something simple like lifting weights. I don't lift weights, but I used to. And I've done it both ways. When I lifted weights and I kept track of the results that we're getting, my results improved all the time. It felt like when my results were not being tracked, I was working just as hard. And the truth is, I felt like I was getting just as tired. But when I was tracking my results, I had constant muscle gains. When I stopped tracking my results, I didn't have the muscle gains anymore, even though I was working the same amount of time. If you do not track and keep accountable to the results that you're aiming to produce, you are not going to grow past a certain point, because you're going to feel like you're doing everything that it takes, but you'll lose track of your aim, you'll lose track of where you're going, you'll lose track of what you're supposed to be doing, and the truth is you don't even know if you're on track. So if you don't know you're on track and you don't even know where you fit in, how can you go to a mentor and ask them a question? Because a good mentor, they're going to come and say, okay, what results are you producing? What are the activities that you're doing? What is your goal? And if you don't know the outcome, you don't know what you're producing, you don't know how you're doing it, and you don't know, you don't even know what you've been doing, that's going to be a first step, is, hey, to get clear, right? And then let's get a clear path to track, and you need to track it and report it and stay accountable, right? All the time people set goals and they're not accountable. They start at the beginning of the year, they say, I'm going to get fit this year, and then they go buy a gym membership, and guess what they don't do after that is they don't continue to go to the gym. they lose track and they just don't do it anymore. And so what I want you to do is the opposite. I want you to stay on that path to keep getting results, to keep getting accountable. So how we're going to do that together is I'm going to keep you accountable right now. What you're going to do next, and this is mentor to student, scroll down right now. I'm going to help you get better results in your life. The way that we're going to do that together right now is you're going to fill in the information and hit the button that says give me the daily shortcut. I'm going to give you an audio. I'm going to give you a PDF workbook that's going to help you think through these parts of your life. And when you think through these parts in your life, you're going to get better results. That's it, period. And we're going to help you stay accountable and grow those as a community through our accountability systems when you get to the next page. So right now, we're going to give these resources to you for free. Scroll down, put in your email, click the button. I'll see you on the next page. And those of you who want to take things to a whole new level, write me a detailed comment. Tell me what you learned today, and we will help you take your life and to explode your results to a new level that you've never traversed into before, because you, my friend, do have the power to do great things in your life. This is Dave Wood, and I'll see you in the next episode of The Daily Shortcut.